Welcome, everyone. This is the Budget and Finance Committee for Thursday, May 14, 2015, and I'd like to call a meeting to order. Is there any declarations of voting conflict from our members? Is that part of your, Mr. General Counsel? I'm stepping over into
That's
your
fine.
boundaries.
You did a great job.
Okay. So can you announce that so it's official?
Do any members of this committee have any conflicts they want to report?
Okay.
Seeing none, we move forward.
Okay. Any public comments at this point? Anybody from the audience wishing to make any public comments? Getting up or on the phone? Public comments are now closed. Action items. So approval of summary minutes, Budget and Finance. By Mr. Ferre, second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor? Aye. Seeing unanimously, the minutes are approved. Okay. Treasurer's report. That would be me, right? But I want to defer to you, Marie.
What I would request of the committee, since it's getting a little late, to defer it into the board meeting if it's the committee's approval.
Okay. So does that require a motion, an official motion and a vote to defer that? Okay. So we're going to be deferring the report for the board meeting. So anybody have any issues with that? Please speak up now. If not, motion by Ms. Weinberg, seconded by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Just for the record, Chairman, that would be the May 19th.
May 19th. Thank you, sir. Okay. So now we have a presentation, Marie?
Yes. Item B is the Series 2015A Toll Facility Refunding Revenue Bonds. Is Resolution 1514. We have a brief presentation from First Southwestern Financial Advisors, as well as Louis Ryder and his co-counsel on the bond documents. And
thank you, Randy. I would ask speakers to be succinct, to the point, given the timelines of a lot of people here that have a lot of things that they signed up for, and they have to be somewhere. So any questions, I would ask the board members to also make those quick. Randy?
This will be very quick. This is a refunding, a strategic refunding. It's not necessarily needed for savings in the near term. It's strictly a long-term financing to look at the overall long-term objectives. With any refunding, the primary objective is to lower the debt service. The par amount of bonds will stay approximately the same, if not lower, due to premium on bonds. The big thing here is that this refunding will be done so there'll be no impact on the current work program. All the savings will be in the later years. The savings that we were looking at achieving is from 34 to 39. The original 2006 bonds were for new money. Over the years, we've incrementally refunded portions of them out. In 2013, we actually refunded them by extending the call. City owned a large portion of those bonds. They came back and gave us 5% savings, which we applied to reduce debt service. And just last year, we incorporated only those bonds that generated 5% savings or more. We weren't looking to do anything with it other than because the opportunity was there, we generated savings. This is to look at the remaining amount. The primary objective here is to strategically lower the average life of the bonds. We're going to pay them off faster. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be recommending doing this deal at this point in time. If you take a look at the overview of the 2015 A's, the par amounts would actually be reducing the par amount outstanding. We would remain in fixed rate. The average debt service goes up slightly just because we're paying them off earlier, and you'll see it in a following up slide why that's the case. The present value savings, because this is a restructuring and strategic, we're going above our minimum threshold of 5%. If we were just to look at a straight refunding of level debt service, this would only be generating anywhere between 3.5% to 5% bare minimum. We expect a little bit more when we're doing something strategic. So the 7.5 is our target amount. And on top of that, we're lowering the debt service by approximately $30 million. This is very hard to see, but what this whole thing is supposed to show you is your coverage amounts do not change essentially during the entire time that the program's in place. So there would be no impact on that. This is a chart that we showed before, and you can see with the negatives and the change columns, a very minimal amount of debt service relief from 2016 through 2026. We're doing a little bit more savings in 27. You'll see it on my next chart. And then we're seeing the increases for the next 3 or 4 years. That is what we're talking about, strategic shaping. We're shortening the average life. And the last part where all the savings really is pretty much paying off the debt earlier. And this is the chart that best illustrates the direction that we're heading. The gold line or the yellow line, depending on how you're looking at it, is where our debt service is right now. And as you can see, we created this dip. And that was to allow us to go forward with some kind of strategic plan, either pay as you go, or in this case, structure the debt service so that it has a rapidly declining payoff. It is something that the higher credits have. When you have a rapidly declining debt service, you can layer on level debt service every year after that point in time and not have to raise rates to make those payments. It's something that the state does with a lot of their debt. You'll see it in the high AA, AAA type credits. We're attempting to do that. The spikes that you see there will be refunded and smoothed into this declining balance in the years 2020 to 2023. As those bonds become currently callable, some of them are actually advanced refundable, but they're not generating the savings. As soon as we can do it and generate the 7.5 savings that we're showing here, we're going to layer it in a nice declining balance. Another look, this is another view on where we're accelerating the debt. You can see the debt service in the 28 to the 34 time frame is where we're pushing the debt from the back end. And as you can see in the front part of this line, that there's no change in the debt service. There is no impact because, and I'll say it every time because it has to be said, every dollar is committed for this construction program that falls through the cash flows. Every dollar that drops to the bottom goes to pay construction costs.
81.90.
The overall objectives that we're going to shorten the average life approximately 3.8 years. Total debt service would lower $34 million. The all-in cost, if we're achieving our 7.5% savings, would be approximately 3.9%. The big points here that we want to do is we really need to maintain our senior coverage position in the near term. The other things that we want to do is set the stage for the big programs that are going to be potentially coming in the 2025 range out. You as a system will be able to handle many new programs, or you can pay off debt. But it strategically will allow you to go forward with a lot of programs. Our recommendation is this is a negotiated transaction. We're restructuring. We would keep it all fixed rate. The advanced refunding portion does take into account that you're going to have some negative arbitrage. The negative arbitrage is your cost of funds, even if it's 3.9, you're only going to be borrowing it at 0.05. It's going to be a really low interest rate that you're earning. So you're going to have $3.5 to $5 million of negative arbitrage. If we wait till it's a current refunding, that number goes away. So that's one of the reasons why we're not pushing.
Is that $3.5 million over the life of the contract?
The $3.5 million is an embedded number. The
Embedded,
amount,
okay.
it's all embedded into the savings that we're talking about, but it's an additional cost that you would normally not have to bear if the short part of the interest curve was higher. What the Fed wants to try to do.
But for this size transaction, it's really a minimal cost.
We feel it, but it's not something that we ignore. The 7.5% helps offset the $3.5 million that we're looking at negative arbitrage, because potentially present value we're looking at 5. We're saving 34 over the life, but this is a strategic refunding. We're not doing it strictly for savings. If we were doing it strictly for savings, we would probably push out and wait a little bit longer until it got a little bit closer to current refunding, or wait for current refunding. And the final thing is, when we're done, no coverage levels in the important parts of the program from now to 2026 will not change. If anything, they go up slightly. So our coverage projection showed a 1.81. It stays 1.81, and we will not do a refunding if it has a negative impact on our lowest coverage number. And now, the fun part, all the documents you get to review and read and sign your names to.
We're going to be very brief.
Randy,
Louis
thank
Ryder,
you.
how are you?
Randy, thank you for the lightning speed presentation.
This will be very fast. The documents you have before you are similar to what you've seen before. The resolution authorizes you up to $130 million. Sets some sort of delegation. And you mentioned that the 7.5 net present value. Maximum maturity is.
Your microphone? You want to check your microphone?
Oh, thank you. This is better? Yeah, okay. As I was saying, the resolution authorizes the issuance of $130 million in bonds. It sets some sort of delegation parameters, including, as Randy mentioned, the 7.5% savings. It also provides for a maximum maturity of 2039, appoints your fiduciaries, which again are going to be Bank of New York and DAC, to provide continuing disclosure, and then authorizes and approves the forms of substantially final form of the documents, which is the supplemental trust indenture, which is the supplement to the trust indenture, and that is the contract between you, the trustee, and the bondholders. The bond purchase agreement, which is a document under which the underwriters purchase the bonds from the authority. The preliminary official statement, which is the initial offering document, which will be turned into a final official statement once the bond's priced. An escrow deposit agreement, which provides for the refunding of the refunded debt through their call date. And last is the disclosure agreement, which is a continuing disclosure agreement with DAC. That's a 30-second summary of what the documents provide. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for our bond counsel? Okay. Thank you for your presentation, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
So at this point, we are moving on to item D.
Actually, we need a
We need a
motion
motion to accept the recommendation. Thank you.
to endorse Resolution 1514.
Motion by Mr. Ferre, second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor of endorsing resolution number 15-14? Say aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay. With that, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now on to item D, endorsement of fiscal year 2016 budget and reserves funding requirement.
Could we add, before we go through that, could you add, including an increase not to exceed $2.5 million for the communications budget?
Well, I think this is what I was going to say is this is the opportunity to take up any amendments to the budget, any recommendations, and I think that was one of the ones that I heard. Right. So I think this would be the appropriate time to now make the motion that to allocate funding for the
And I second the motion, Madam Chair.
for the communications marine.
Yeah, just a clarification, because the budget goes up, it has an impact to the reserves. So the expenditures budget will go up to 2.5 for public communications, but it will have an impact about a little bit under $400,000 on the reserve, and we will prepare an updated reserve, an updated AIR for the board meeting on Tuesday.
Okay, perfect. Anybody has any question about what Marie just said? There will be an impact to our debt coverage if we make that decision today, and we talked about it earlier, but I think just as long as everybody's clear on that. So at this point, motion to increase our line item budget for communications and public involvement. Would you want to state that motion?
And I second the motion.
Okay. Is that the motion? I don't know if we have to officially, Mr. Counsel, we have to.
That would be the amendment to the item. So
Right.
you vote on that first, then you vote on the item.
So motion by Ms. Gutierrez, seconded by Mr. Ferre, and the motion again is to increase our line item not to exceed $2.5 million.
Correct.
So does anybody have a question?
Well, more than anything, I have a comment, and I applaud the chair for this idea, but I would just like to caution, this is something I just came up with. I'd like to call it like a C4, a comprehensive community communication campaign. So it's not a glitz and glitter advertising. If I'm understanding, this is what we want to do.
I think that's a great title for it.
C4. As opposed to a P3?
Yeah.
I believe
That's
C4 is an explosive
wonderful.
element, but
Sorry. Well, there you go. That works.
but I think it's a very good point
Thank
that
you.
we make that, put a label on it and give it the parameters for what this is. It's not some glitzy, glamour, flashy. This is really genuinely to communicate. So,
Communications with the community.
right, and outreach. Okay. So, with the any other comments? We have a motion on the table. Second by Mr. Ferre. Any comments? Seeing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? For the record, the motion passes unanimously. Okay. Okay. So now there's that'd be a motion to endorse the budget as presented with the amendment. So, motion by Mr. Gonzalez.
Motion by me.
Seconded.
Second.
Mr. Pago, okay. All in favor of accepting the budget as presented with the amendment of the 2.5 not to exceed. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? See none. Passes unanimously. Okay. We're now to item E. All right, so this is the 5-year work plan.
This item was discussed at the Operations Committee. I believe our Director of Engineer did present specific projects. This is the 2016-20 5-year work program at $706 million. We have attached a financing plan to this item to show the board members that the work program is financially feasible. So the coverage ratios that we're projecting for the next 10 years based upon our revenue and expenses are no less than the 185 that we had targeted when we issued the original debt in June of 2014. I would like to say, and I don't want to put Mr. Pago on the spot, we did factor into the financing plan $35 million contribution for the 83611.
I think he's acknowledging that commitment. I'm not sure.
Wow.
It hasn't changed.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
Thank
so with that contribution and those current costs and projections of revenue expenses, this work program is financially feasible to achieve.
Okay. Anybody has any questions on this item? Okay. This will require a motion, I guess, to adopt a 5-year work plan for transportation improvement and capital improvement. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Gonzalez, seconded by Ms. Gutierrez. All in favor of approving the 5-year work program, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? None? Okay, passes unanimously. Okay, now we're to the item F. I have my letters down today. Endorsement of the fees state loan. Marie?
Correct. This is our ongoing effort to manage our debt based upon our debt management plan. We are requesting that the committee and board allow us to have discussions with the department. The department must give us written consent to pay off the loans early. There's no prepay penalty. There is potentially savings on the interest, $200,000. This will allow us for additional capacity on subordinate debt on our financial statement, on our financial plan. So again, this is not something that we will execute. We're just asking for the opportunity to talk to the department to ask their consent to pay the loans off early.
Okay. I have a motion by Chairwoman Gutierrez, second by Mr. Ferre. All in favor of approving the motion to allow us to speak with the state to defease the loans? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously, and bless you.
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Ms. Gutierrez.
I have to say congratulations on thinking outside the box and doing this effort. This is how you use the money to pay down the debt and these kind of things. Excellent. I think the state should receive this approach in a very positive note. And if not, they should go back home and start the day again. They need to receive it in a very positive note. Congratulations.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? All right, moving right along, item G, endorsement of MDX policy, and there's a toll policy and a budget policy. Marie?
Correct. This is the endorsement on the clarification and revisions to the toll policy. There's 3 items on the toll policy. It's the clarification of the CPI start date to July 1st of 2019, which was the original policy, but we want to clarify it. So the clock starts July of 19, and then the CPI no later than 2022, July 1st of 2022, is a 3-year deferral on that. And we're also requesting that the board allow us to incorporate into the toll policy flexibility as it relates to the customer rewards program. At the time that we put together the customer rewards program, we necessarily didn't have all the data to determine what was the right number of days for qualification of the usage. And we basically came up with a number of 66 days. What we are requesting is to allow the agency at its discretion to determine based upon actual data to say what is the right number of usage days to include a larger customer base. So that's incorporated into the toll policy. And then the third item is that when the CPI is applied, it went from a nickel to the nearest penny. So when CPI was to be applied, and whatever the CPI rate would, it would go to 1.75, let's just say 75 cents. In this case, it would go to 71 cents. It's going to go to the nearest penny rather than the nearest nickel. So those are the 3 changes that we're requesting on the toll policy.
And Marie, that's to make us consistent with the resolution that we passed a month ago. So this is the clarifying language of the resolution that we all voted on and passed, and that's just the language to make it consistent with that, and we're continue.
Right.
Okay.
The second policy is the budget policy, and these are just more cleanup administrative. We're keeping consistent with the special district statute that was changed in 2014. The budget must be posted on the website prior to a public hearing, which is what we've done this fiscal year and prior years, as a matter of fact. And then clarification on the filing of the trust indenture with the trustee, and then work program dates as well. So those are just really administrative items.
Need 2 separate motions for this, or one motion to it?
Mr. Counsel?
Yes, 2.
Is that
Yeah.
2? Okay.
Motion
2
on
different
both
items.
of them.
Okay.
2 different items. Motion on both of them, and once you have a second, I would like to say something.
Okay. So we have a motion to endorse the policy revisions, both for the toll policy and budget policies, by Chairwoman Gutierrez. A second?
Second.
By Mr. Ferre.
You would the revisions to the toll policy and then do the budget next.
Okay, we'll do it separately. So first one is a motion by Chairwoman Gutierrez, seconded by Mr. Ferre, to adopt the policy revisions for toll policy. Anybody have any questions? Seeing none. Comments?
I have comments.
Comments? Okay.
This is, again, congratulations. This shows how staff and the board, we're all listening. We're listening to what the public is saying. We needed clarity on what the CPI was, and because of the efficiencies on paying down the debt, you go back and you can go to a penny. Not 5 cents, not a nickel, a penny, which is, again, congratulations. You heard us all, and I'm very happy to see this effort. Thank you.
Any additional comments? Okay. So we have a motion to endorse the policy for toll policy. All in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. So the motion for toll policy has been adopted. So we now have a second motion by Chairwoman Gutierrez to adopt the revisions to budget policy, seconded by Mr. Ferre. Any comments? Any questions? Seeing none, All in favor of adopting this policy, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. All right.
Mr. Chairman, before we close and start the intergovernmental, these two policies now conclude all policy revisions except for procurement and the bylaws, which we will be bringing back with some ethics topics.
Just I want to add, I neglected to, we're requesting, usually when a policy goes to a committee, it goes back to policy and planning, but because we have held the policy workshop, we're requesting that this item be endorsed to the board and not back to the policy and planning.
Does it require a motion? The motion is included.
In other words, that was the motion.
That was the motion. Okay. As long as we're
So,
clear.
so for the record, it's clarified, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to make sure that we're clear, that it's going straight to the board, this being policies that are being adopted. Okay. Any announcement? I'm sorry?
Actually, yeah.
Oh, Ms. Pano, sorry.
Opportunity to once again thank everyone, especially the board, for being so diligent and working with us on the workshop for the policy and procedure. I think it was outstanding. Everybody got an awareness. Even the community got to see what we were doing very transparently. If they don't know, it's because they weren't watching. So, Mike, thank you very much.
Well, hopefully they'll know once we implement this communications plan a lot more. So from announcements, I guess we are starting our Intergovernmental Affairs Committee meeting as soon as we adjourn this, and then be aware that on the 19th, next Tuesday, we have a regularly scheduled board meeting. I want to thank staff, for everybody who participated, Steve, Mario, Juan, Marie, and others that have participated, did a great job and concisely making our day, our comprehensive, and indulging us in our questions. I want to thank the board for their participation. Thank you, and that's our role, is to make sure that we're tasking our staff, bringing items to the public, and answering questions that they may have for their investment. So with that said, motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Chairwoman Gutierrez, second by Mr. Pego. We stand adjourned. Thank you.